Natalie Sideserf here of Sideserf Cake Studio, and I'm going to show you how I made an Egg McMuffin cake. You may ask yourself,
how does she come up with these cake designs?
Well, sometimes I film myself creating cakes that are made for customer orders, and sometimes I'm just driving through the McDonald's drive-thru, and I think an Egg McMuffin cake would be really fun to make. I also love hearing recommendations from my patrons. So if you'd like to become a patron, you can do that at patreon.com/sidesurfcakes. So let's get started. The first thing that you want to do is you want to buy yourself an Egg McMuffin meal from your nearest McDonald's that you can use as a reference to sculpt your cake Egg McMuffin. The second thing you want to do is eat the hash brown. The third thing you want to do is stack your cake. Here I have 2 round 3.5-inch layers of cake and some fun green buttercream spread between the layers. You can see that my cake is slightly smaller than the sandwich, and that's actually on purpose. Later I'm going to cover this entire cake in a layer of modeling chocolate, and that's going to bulk it up to the correct size. I carved a thin layer off the top at an angle because I want the top bun to look slightly tilted. The real sandwich isn't perfectly level either. Then I rounded out the top and bottom edges with a small serrated knife. The cake is carved, so as always, the next step is to cover the cake in a thin layer of buttercream, smooth it out, and then we're gonna set it aside. Now it's time to roll out my ivory modeling chocolate. The white stuff that I sprinkled onto the mat is just some cornstarch, and that's gonna keep the chocolate from sticking to the mat and to my rolling pin. I went with ivory modeling chocolate to cover this cake because it is pretty darn close to the exact color of the English muffin. Now it's time to cover the cake in the modeling chocolate, so I placed it right on top, then I work the chocolate around the sides, and I trim away any of that excess chocolate skirt. I've seen a lot of Egg McMuffin copycat videos on YouTube showing people how to make homemade versions of the breakfast sandwich, but as far as I know, there aren't any videos out there that are showing you how to make an Egg McMuffin copycat cake like this video. I'm so surprised. Doesn't everyone want to make one of these? Now that the cake is covered, it's time to start sculpting all the ingredients, starting with defining the top and bottom muffins. I just take a sculpting tool and I press into the sides of the cake. You've got to be a little aggressive with this. Modeling chocolate is very forgiving, so if you accidentally poke a hole, you can actually just patch it up with more modeling chocolate. I actually did a live stream on this channel where I talked about all things modeling chocolate, so if you're interested in seeing how you can patch up your chocolate, how to make it, anything you can think of regarding modeling chocolate, we'll put a link in the description. Then I take a pointed sculpting tool and I go around the cake and define that egg center. There's a little bit of a bumpy texture on the egg, so I make some lumpy texture with a rounded tool. There are really deep pockets and holes on the inside of the English muffin, so here I used a small ball tool and I'm pressing into the inside of the cake muffin top and bottom. I just said muffin top. That's a sign. I need to lay off the McDonald's breakfast. All right, now I'm going to start the trickiest part of this cake. I need to thin out the edges of the muffin and add some texture. So to do that, I'm pressing towards myself with the sculpting tool while I'm pressing away from myself with my finger. This will smoosh the chocolate and create a nice thin tapered edge. After I go around the entire edge, then I take a pointed tool and I start ripping at that tapered edge, and I'm creating another layer of texture. I want the edge to have like a jagged, random look. I also added a few pockets and holes on the outside. Everything I just did to the bottom bun, I'm going to do to the top. And then I added a few little horizontal lines on the top too. The last bit of texture I added to this cake was made by crumbling up some aluminum foil, covering it in plastic wrap, and lightly pressing on the top. I felt like the top was just a little too perfect for my liking. Time to paint. So I used ivory, yellow, brown, and white gel food color, and I diluted it with a strong clear alcohol, and I started with the muffin. I want to tell you guys a little bit about the Egg McMuffin. So in the early 70s, a McDonald's franchise owner in California, his name was Herb Peterson, he actually came up with the Egg McMuffin and pitched it to McDonald's. He mainly came up with it as a reason to open his restaurants before lunch. You know, because he wanted to make more money. Well, 6 years later, all McDonald's offered the sandwich, and they all adjusted their hours to be open for breakfast. Naturally, it was very popular, and other fast food places started to copy, and they all offered their own breakfast menus. But to this day, McDonald's breakfast still ranks #1 in the United States in every state except Oklahoma. Oklahomans prefer Sonic breakfast to McDonald's breakfast. They're the only ones, the only state.
This breakfast French toaster is so good.
Really good.
What do you guys think about that? I've never actually had Sonic breakfast. Let me know in the comments if you think it's any good. I'm down to give it a try. Now that the muffin is painted, I added some white to kind of highlight that egg, make it a little bit more bright. For the cheese, I just added some bright orange modeling chocolate, and I made it look as if that cheese is tucked underneath the egg. And last, I added the ham. So here I have some pink modeling chocolate, and I cut it into a half moon shape. Then I brushed a little water onto the cake, and I placed my chocolate ham on. The ham is made to look as if it's placed above the egg. Then I painted the edge of the ham a dark brown. And there you have it, an Egg McMuffin cake. Guess I'm gonna have to eat both. But first, let's cut it. The green buttercream is always unexpected, and it confuses people, and that makes me laugh. If you like this video, I hope you subscribe to this channel because we post a new cake video every Monday, and you will never guess what we're going to make next. For real, because I don't even know what I'm going to make next. Our cakes are very random here at Sideserf Cake Studio.
I don't know what that was. Let me try again.